What's up, people? I am back for another video. Dude, I'm happy to be here today. John Wick 4, Chapter 4 was. This movie was. God, it's going to be a lot of words for this one. This one was easily my favorite film of the year. I think this is my second favorite John Wick. Borderline the 1B, meaning like this is almost as good as the first one. I just think for a rare occurrence. Rarely does a movie like deliver it, but deliver like way more than it needed to be. Like uh, anyway, I can't wait to get into this one. I love all like I y'all know I love the John Wick movies. I just think it's like almost a return to kind of like obviously they're not the same kind of movies, but like that kind of bond, just singular character that's doing all these kind of crazy stories. But this one very much kind of continued, and it goes back to that simplicity of that first one, which I do agree with people who pointed it out. I like 2 and 3, but I do think this one kind of brings it back. But basically, the contract on John Wick has gone up. He's still excommunicado. And while this happens, Winston loses the New York Continental. And that scene was very. And this is where we introduce the bad guy of the film, Marquise, played by Bill Skarsgård, who, in my opinion, he's something this franchise, as much as I love these movies, is kind of needed. At least in 2 and 3. I think there needed to be like a villain. And yeah, the table's the villain, at least the silent villain. But and the other villains have kind of been just kind of targets for John Wick to kill. But to actually have a villain actually who is impactful. And it's interesting too, because he's a villain who doesn't fight. He doesn't throw one punch, and how they're able to make it work. A friend of mine, Disper, pointed this out to me, and I kind of have to agree. I have to agree. Like that's they were able to do it, and just Bill plays it like the fucking scene he's introduced. He fucking, I love Sharon. I love how they were able to seamlessly, pay tribute to him within the movie, but not, overdo it. But they do it in the right way, and just the perfect way also to introduce the bad guy. Sharon just shoots him. Because you think he's going to shoot Winston, and he ends up shooting Sharon. And yeah, man, it's a very well done scene. And the bit we see of Lance Reddick is very done right. I mean, and you got to understand, this movie was supposed to come out like last year, I think. It was supposed to come out like a while ago. But it was like delayed a lot. So, but just everything about this movie is perfect. The set pieces, it's just the cinematography alone. It's crazy because when it's just scenes like just them talking or just walking around or just a long shot, the cinematography is beautiful. Like legit, like it's beautiful. Not like just it's a CGI background. Like this was especially when there were in Osaka. Oh my god, the Osaka Continental scenes. Probably my favorite sequence the whole movie. If I'm going like in terms of big action sequence, that was probably my favorite overall. Then like the fight in the end, and I think this movie was how they were able to seamlessly. It still be a John Wick movie, but it was almost like the world of John Wick. Because that's the one thing I was also thinking is how they were able to like really explore the world. Like here's the Osaka Continental. Here's this bad guy. We're getting more at the table. And introducing more of like the rules of the table, especially the duel towards the end. So it was kind of cool to get that. And then just even other characters, like, introducing characters like Kane, Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen was just, dude. Holy shit, Donnie Yen in this fucking movie. Just that whole fight in Osaka when he's first introduced, because, he was forced, because he was a friend of John Wick, so I really like how they were able to introduce him, because, he's that character that's not necessarily mentioned, but they're able to make it seem like he's been here forever. Like, that's good storytelling. When you have a character you just introduced, but you make it seem like he's been here for fucking ever, and I feel like they really did that. Same with Koji, or shit, Shimazu Koji, played by Hiroki Sanada. Played, yeah, you might recognize him as he's in Scorpion. He played. Unfortunately, he was wasted as Scorpion in the shitty Mortal Kombat movie, but he was, Last Samurai, fucking even Rush Hour 3. Like he's a really good actor. So that fight between Koji and fucking Kane was so emotional, and his daughter too. Um, Akira, she was a good character, and it's like this is how you do female characters, right? Like I think in general, what I like about these movies, they do take into account like height and weight. Like just even like with just John, like in his fights, he's not like fucking taking down. Hold on. Sorry about that. But yeah, he's not like taking out big dudes like that. He gets thrown around. Same thing with her. Like in her fight, for a little bit, we get of her because she's only in this pretty much just in the Osaka section of the movie. I really like that. Yeah, they take into account weight. She's not just throwing dudes around. She's actually fighting like kind of like I'm gonna say how a woman would fight, or at least realistically. Like they taken that into account. She's using a lot of leverage and more speed, and it was believable. And also, she was believably getting beat up. Same thing with John. John isn't just the one thing I've always liked about this franchise. Yeah, John he takes a beating. And it's believable. And even just within the movie, the one thing especially a lot of people rightfully all that sometimes he just takes these falls and and just go a little bit far. But I think at least in this, it's explained. They at least explain it like that John's in this suit. That basically the suits are like bullet proof and very much like almost damage proof too. So they could take a beating. So that's why it's explained why they can kind of do some of the shit they do in the movie. And it's like fine. So at least they explain it. I like that they go out of their way. But Kane is hired by Marquise basically to kill John Wick. And just even the scene where this is a bit towards them after they make the duel, where John Wick gets his crest back and he makes a duel challenge to Marquise, who Marquise has Kane going as basically enter for him. And before that, he has to make it by sunrise, so Marquise has a hit set up, and I love those moments in that movie. And then you have this announcer chick, almost playing radio DJ chick, and then just talking while they're about to do the hit and announcing who's coming. That was so fucking badass. That whole sequence, and then but the sequence in Osaka was great. So Kane's trying to get him through the movie, but you realize Kane still has honor. He even towards the end helps John when they're both just taking out those dudes. In the end, it was great, and the duel scene was great. And obviously, let's spoil it, where he turns it on Marquise, and after killing Marquise, John is deemed to be This is just kind of quickly doing a retelling before I get into the review fully. Where he's deemed to be they basically his obligations to the table are lifted. Winston is getting his Continental back, and Kane and his daughter are free. And basically, it's implied they make you think that John's dead. I kind of figured he wasn't dead because they already said they're doing 5. I figured he's faking his death, which I think is a good. It makes sense for John's character at this point. He would go undercover and go hiding and just try to hide and try to live his life. So I can see a situation that something happens in the next one and that he's going to be brought back out. So I think it makes sense, and it's a good way too, because maybe originally when they were filming it was going to be the last one, but then as I've heard Keanu say before, that if these movies do well, that he would be willing to kind of just keep doing them for a while. So who knows? But I do think personally, I was talking about from Mara about this, they should end it at 5. I just think makes sense. I just think there's one more film he has to do because it's The way it's setting up, it's gonna be him versus the table next movie. But I do like we're getting more of the table too, because that's like kind of really barely learn about the table in the other movies. So it's kind of cool we're getting more of them. Just the world in general. There's this one shot in the movie where John is in this building taking out these guys who are trying to get him. This is during the sequence where they're trying to get John before he has to try to make it to sunrise. And he's using these dragon breath shotguns, or they're shotguns that these guys had. He kills a guy, he takes one. And there's this overhead shot where it's like, like it's overhead shot over this building. You could see like John killing guys and it's like overhead. It's like almost like a video game. And they did it really well in the seamless trend. That's probably like, in terms of shot, was that. And there's even a section of the movie where there's just a card game. John's playing card game with the Mr. Nobody is a guy you see throughout the film who's like a tracker and he has a dog. And I like his character, even though his character, and I like that they just call him Mr. Nobody. That's kind of what he doesn't want to be really known. He's in the background. He's another assassin who you could tell somewhat he has honor. He doesn't just, he actually helps John throughout the film a lot. Obviously, he has to fight with John, and then, I'm happy they didn't kill his character. But it does make me think, like, I kind of wish now, the more I think about it, they kind of kept Willem Dafoe alive a bit longer than they did, especially with the amount of characters they have left alive. But I overall definitely think this is my favorite movie. I haven't seen an action movie just so good like this in a while. Like, Maverick was fun, but, like, I'm going to be honest, my jaw was on the floor the whole time. I haven't seen a movie like that straight up have my jaw. I mean, I think Maverick was good for different reasons. I have my jaw was like on the floor the whole time. That hasn't happened in a while. Like, not like that. We're just like, I was just like, dude, like the Donnie Yen fight where he's fighting the people in the Osaka hotel are trying to defend it when he's fighting him in the kitchen. And there's the one dude, he does like those It Man punches. And like the way that the sound, it was just like, holy shit. The sound design and like they got everything right. Sound design, the cinematography, the action, the characters, and even just like I said, a card game is one of my favorite scenes in a John Wick movie where it's not a fight scene or anything. It's a card game. Like, I just shows you, like, I think you can make a great movie. Like, it just really shows me that Hollywood is. I like doing this. I miss talking about movies I just genuinely love. I'm looking happy, not like mad because they ruined something. It's nice to have a movie that like not just delivered, but delivered like and then some. So I definitely say go see this movie. This is how you do action movies. This is if you want, like, if you're one of those, because there's people out there who didn't necessarily like 2 and 3, or maybe they thought 2 and 3 went a bit extra. I think this one definitely takes it back to the simplicity of that first one. I think the first one's still overall a better movie, but this one is easily the best action. I think if I'm just going straight up by action, this is the best one. I just think the action scenes just, and the fact that Keanu Reeves did 90%, that's something that came out today, that like 90% of the stunt scenes are him. It really shows. And granted, you a lot of times you gotta really look to notice like stuntmen, but it really looked like he did a lot of the scenes. Just the action sequences are just so well done. Like by everybody. Just even that sequence in Osaka before John Wick even got involved, where it was just kind of Koji and his people against Kane and his people. That was the other reason I was kind of like looking at the world of Chuck, because they're introducing these other characters, and these characters feel like they've been here forever. Like Koji and Kane are characters that are friends of Wick, who, granted, you've only seen them in this movie, but they feel like they've been friends. Just seeing Donnie Yen and Keanu fight was just great. Even the way Donnie Yen fights and just uses his blindness. And yeah, he plays another blind guy, but he does it so well. It doesn't look like he plays it the same. That fight, going back to that fight in the kitchen in Osaka, he uses like these motion things to like while people are trying to come at. Like, I love the way they did that. He's blind, so he's going to be attracted by sounds and stuff. So it just makes sense. God, it's just like everything. So overall, really really awesome movie. And I just, dude, this I don't know how long I'm gonna make this video because I'm just gonna gush about this movie for a while. Just I've been like I love these movies, but it is I've been kind of feeling like this is the franchise has needed a face as a villain for a while, and to finally have one because just Marquise, he's another one. How like in general, I gotta kind of compliment this movie of how they can take characters who are only just introduced this movie, but make them feel like they've been here for like ever. Um, like I really like that. If a movie can make you feel like they've been here forever, and then yeah, you have the returning characters like the Bowery King, he's more kind of like the background in this, and this is like a perfect transition from three. Like you can kind of like three ends, and then this goes right into it, like right where like you just see Keanu like punching a bag while Bowery King's setting it up perfect. You know, you get that set of he's saying some badass lines, and John's getting ready to do something. And then yeah, Clancy Brown as the Harbinger is great. He's another character where you don't get a lot of him, but he does things by the book. But I really love his scenes with Marquise just in the background, like this their banter, and just like I said, the use of characters who just are introduced this movie, but feel like they have been here for fucking like all of them is just perfect. So I definitely gotta say it, man. This one's you're gonna love it. I think it's a movie for everybody. It's perfect action. I just think it has everything everybody wants, and the 3 hour. It's not 3 hours. It's like 2 hours and 49 or 47, something like that. It doesn't feel that long. Like the time goes quick. Like not once did I look at my phone. I didn't look at my phone or anything like that, or the time, or like I was just kind of the movie. I was just enthralled really from the beginning. There's no slow points. Like they're able, the use of time and just everything like is amazing. Yeah. Like, rarely does a movie like for the most part use the time like, and I think this one does amply well. So if I had a rate out of 10, I said it on Instagram. It's borderline a 10. I gave it like a 9.9. Like I have no real criticisms or not that I can think of. I'm gonna go watch it again tomorrow, so maybe something might come up. But honestly, at least when I watched it yesterday, I had nothing, nothing I could think of. Just honestly, the dialogue was perfect. All the characters were good. Yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say. So, and this one's pretty violent too in terms of the I guess you want to not gonna call it gore because it's not a horror movie, but they don't hold back on the violence. Um, in some scenes, I would probably say in terms of pure violence, this is definitely the most violent one of the four movies. Because you do like, especially when they start using that dragon's breath shotgun. Yeah, and it just and yeah, like John, like obviously he doesn't change much as a character, but he doesn't need to be. In my opinion, he doesn't really need to. Um, he's a simple character. He's one of the few characters like you don't need to make him overly complex and give him this crazy story. I just think just let him do his thing, and I kind of like that they kept it that and just made it simple. And like it's a big chase film essentially, especially towards like the end. But um, yeah, and I like that Winston and John are cool again because I was like, and I haven't seen anybody say this, but I was just thinking, I'm wondering if people could pick out like, oh, why is John just so cool with Winston again? I look at it as like, yeah, he's probably a little mad at Winston for what happened, but I look at it as he kind of understands ultimately that Winston at it. Sorry about, I don't know what the fuck that is. Shit, just the motherfuckers. I don't know if it's some like animal or some shit. Sorry about that. Um, like I look at it like he knows, um, he kind of knows Winston had to do it. He had no choice, kind of deal. So even though, yeah, I can kind of get it, but overall, just like I said, man, I think this is the perfect action film. I hope this starts a trend of. Sorry, I don't know what the fuck that is, but I hope this starts a trend, um, of something good, because I kind of want to get back to old action movies and just, well, I miss movies with sets. Don't get me wrong, I'm cool with, because I think, like, look at comic book movies. Like this is the perfect template for like a Daredevil movie, or a fucking, um like an ideal Daredevil, or even like a Red Hood movie. Sorry about that. Those fucking raccoons. But um, I just think I kind of want more movies like this. Not just, I don't need the big. Not everything needs to be a big event. So I just think I want this to start a trend, because I think this. I want this movie to do well. And I think it will. And this is the same guy who's going to do the Ghost of Tsushima movie. So I'm like, yes, those so many sequences in this movie. I'm like, dude, he's gonna Ghost of Tsushima is a good hands. So, but yeah, that's my kind of quick discussion before we go into the whole plot. But definitely, like I said, it'll be a spoiler review. I'll put in the title. The only real spoiler is in the end, where I'm gonna say he fakes his death. But aside from that, there's no real spoiler. Besides from that, there's post credit scene where they make you think, is Kane gonna die, because his daughter confronts him while he goes, while he visits his, I think his wife, or visiting somebody. So it's almost like a John Wick 5 setup too. So, but yeah, it's overall like, yeah, love this movie. So tomorrow I'm gonna do a rant. Finally, I've been wanting to do this rant for a while, but I'm gonna do a rant tomorrow about, mantles and why they suck. I'll kind of go into it really quick. I just don't like them, because I just think it's become a lazy fit way to, instead of just create your own character, you just, let's take a character, like established character like Batman or Superman or Captain America or Iron Man. Oh, well, they're mantles. No. Ultimately, what made those characters were those specific characters. What made Captain America was Steve Rogers, and I'll go more into this tomorrow. What made Batman's legacy those 80 throughout the 80 something years is Bruce Wayne. Not like, I'll even say it really quick. I've never even liked the whole Dick Grayson becomes Batman thing. Dick Grayson's Robin or Nightwing. I think that, to me, that's it. That is how you do it. Let them evolve into their own character, and it's just a lazy way to put over a new character without actually doing the work. So I'll talk about that more tomorrow, but this is something that's bothered me for years, and it's just not just Hollywood, but like comics have been doing this a lot. Where, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I've never been a fan of a lot of other versions of characters. Like, didn't really care for the Ben Riley Spider-Man, so it's not like I just pick on Miles Morales. I never liked the Ben Riley Spider-Man. Really, I've never was. To me, Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Peter Parker is what made that character. So anyway, I'll go into that tomorrow, but because this is a positive video. But yeah, so I'll go into that tomorrow. But yeah, let's get started on John Wick 4. This awesome fucking balls. So that's gonna be the title of this video: balls to the wall action, because that's really what it is. They don't stop. This movie goes and it goes. Um, and yeah, like I said, they make use of the 2.5 hour, or over 2.5 hours, like 2 hours and 49 minutes. Like, there's not a. I don't feel like there's any wasted motion or wasted scene, or so. I don't think the time it goes, like, so. I don't think it's a factor. If that's one thing that's kind of gonna affect you, I don't think it shouldn't. The time goes quick. When I like I said, for a longer movie, this movie's longer than Shazam, I would say, and this movie made use of the time versus Shazam, which was longer that I felt like that should have been a way shorter movie. Like, there's so many sections like you could cut that. There's no section in this where I was like, I know that you can cut that. That's what I mean. Like they make use of the time. So anyway. So I love the setup for this movie with the Bowery King kind of doing his setup. Basically, I love like those moments of the movie where he's building up John Wick. You just see John punching a bag, and then Bowery saying, "You ready, John?" And it's like, yeah, I just love it. Then when he goes to Morocco, he ends up killing the elder. And that whole sequence, the elder's like basically trying to tell him that killing him won't reverse, and he's like, John doesn't care, he just kills him anyway. This is so what ends up happening because of what John did. Winston gets a visit from the Harbinger, who that's Clancy Brown, who he's like I said, one of the many new characters who just feels like he's been in this. He's just you just believe he's lived here forever. You just haven't seen him. So he gives Winston time, and this is where we're introduced to Marquise. He's a senior member of the High Table. Basically, he shits on he's a perfect villain, man. The way he brings up Winston's failures and saying it's not just John Wick, that John Wick is like a symbol of his failures. Like such a just good villain already. It is like within like the first few minutes of meeting him, you're just like, oh shit, this dude means business, because you think he's gonna shoot, because he's excommunicado, and that the New York Continental's destroyed, and I don't want to say Ian his actual name, but Winston is deemed excommunicado, and Sharon are deemed excommunicado. Sharon tries to like kind of he gets I love that they give Lance Reddick a moment in this movie. I don't know if it was a case, because nothing has come out yet, but I don't know if maybe partially like even while he was making this, maybe it could be like a Chadwick Boseman thing where maybe Lance Reddick knew he was sick, and maybe that's why the character is written the way he is in this movie, because he even gets a tribute in the movie, because when it's happening, Sharon gets killed by Marquise, and it works so well because what ends up happening, but it also works because it really shows how fucking wicked and evil fucking Marquise is. He had no problem. He just shot up with quickness, and it's just, and it's like, god damn. I wasn't expecting that. I was figuring out how they're gonna get. Because if you're asking me, I didn't necessarily think they were gonna kill Sharon. I thought maybe maybe he'll either disappear or something. I didn't necessarily think he was gonna die, and then yeah. And they do give like a nice tribute to him later on in the movie. So he then ends up hiring Kane, who's an old friend of John's. Initially, Kane tries to refuse, but he uses his daughter, that if he ends up killing John, that Kane and his daughter will be basically free of their obligations to the table. Then this is where John ends up taking refuge in Osaka. This is we the Osaka. So just the Osaka in general, that is like my favorite. That whole section of the movie is just so fun. Not just because of the action, just some of the shots, man. they really make it beautiful. Like they really like just the roof where you got like the fucking plants, and they really do a good job. So and it's just nice to see a different fucking, because in the in the second movie you got like um the Italian continental, and I think the third movie had a different continental. So it's kind of cool to see continentals around the world. So nice, it's nice to see the Osaka one. This is where we're introduced to Akira. Mr. Nobody checks in, and he has like this book of like with different like assassins and John Wick. Um, um, this is where we meet Koji. We find out, yeah, Koji's been, helping John, and his daughter's worried that because that they just heard about the table in New York being destroyed. She's worried that like, her dad's gonna die. So the table end up showing up. Basically, Kane and um, Kane slash and Marquise's men show up. Basically, they've the Osaka, kind of like the last movie where the Continental was deemed Denig. I forgot what the term. I gotta look up what the term is. Term is basically where they can basically, because yeah, basically you could do contract on open ground. So um, we get that cool fight, and yeah, John doesn't get involved for a little bit because you get a little bit of dialogue with his daughter and him, and then yeah, his daughter gets involved in the fight. The fight was so good, man. This is what, and then when Donnie, I just love initially, fucking Kane Donnie Yen. You just see him in the background, just eating like his noodles in the fucking background. And then yeah, when he finally gets involved in the fight, because he knows he knows how good he is, and when he gets involved, holy shit, my god, man, my jaw was just on the floor the whole time this fight. But when he gets involved, when he's like using the motion controls when people are getting close to him, he's just killing them. And then he's going like I really like that he likes to use hands and his stick, and he just was taking people out, man. It was, and that, like I said, that scene where he's doing, those It Man punches, like those really fast ones, and like the sound. This is where the sound design was like really good. Like holy shit, I was just like, I was like almost feeling those punches. It's like god damn, he was going ham on that boy. And so yeah, John, Akira's fighting, and I like that they take into account like she's smaller, so she's not like just beasting these dudes. She's using like her leverage and her agility. She's kind of using she's speed. I think that's how you do it. Like that's how I like that they write. It's rare does a movie do that. Not every woman needs to be like. I'm not saying you can't have an occasional female who does beast through dudes, but like when that's all they do and they try to do it by strength and stuff. I like that they do it more realistic here. It's like she's using her agility. Same thing with John. Like in his movies, like I said, he does take a beating in a lot of these fights. He doesn't just go unscathed. Yeah, he's just taking these dudes out using the axe. It was I like the different weapons they use. Like the weapons he's able to change with, and so after taking out a group of men, Kane confronts John. We get kind of a quick fight with them before they have to end up not evacuate. I think they end up stop fighting, and then Kane ends up confronting Koji. And yeah, that fight with Koji was so, dude. The way it was shot, this scene, was like, yeah, dude, Ghost of Tsushima's in good hands. It was that scene. The way it was shot, and like it's shot like a samurai movie. It's like they're using swords, and Kane like was trying to say I didn't want to fight him. And yeah, Kane ends up killing Koji, and it's really well done, and it's sad too because it's like, holy shit, and the way he even tells the daughter like, no, because it's like he knows, because it's like he knows he's gonna destroy her. So it's like no, because the daughter like had that look. She was about to pick up the sword. He's like no, live. And it's like a good quote. It's like because he doesn't want to kill her. Ultimately, he has honor. So after that, this is where John goes to the train. And I thought this for a second we were gonna get like a fight on the train, just because the way it was telegraphed. Like, oh, we're getting like a fight on the train. But no, she goes to him. She somewhat blames him, but then goes to John and tell him, "Kill him or I will." About Kane, and he agrees. He says, "I'll do what I have to do." Um, oh, also, like, while this Mister Nobody helps John, like, because the contract at this point he doesn't think is enough to get him to kill John yet, so he actually helps John a lot, and yeah, he uses his dog, so which is kind of cool. Um, I think then this point in the movie, um, yeah, this is where Winston meets with the Bower King so he can arrange a meeting with John. They meet at Sharon's grave. This is where you kind of get that nice little tribute to him. But John, he kind of, Winston wants to know what's John basically end game here. So he says he wants him to kill Marquise, but he has to do it smart. So he has to basically get his crest back and to win a duel. It'll free him of his obligation instead of like basically just killing Marquise the normal way. Because he brings up a good point. If John just kind of if he just pulled like a John Wick from the other 2 and 3 movie, but from 2 and 3, it's like he basically says like he would just get replaced really quick, and it's just going to be a continuous cycle. So I like that he really tries to say you got to end it, you got to end it right. And this is where he has to go into this duel, and he has to go to Berlin to get a new crest, um, and go back to his adopted sister. Even though initially, I guess I'll transition when he goes to Berlin, and his sister nearly kills him. Um, she's about to hang him because at this point he's still excommunicado, but she agrees to give him his marker back, or give him killing marker instead of in danger killing Killa. Who apparently that was Scott Adkins. I did not realize that, but it's Scott Adkins. But he's like I guess he's like in a fat suit or whatever, because Killa's like this kind of fat high table senior. But he's actually, that's why it makes sense why he's a good fighter. So that was fucking Scott Adkins. I just realized that. But yeah, so she frees him. He gets taken there. He confronts Killa in the nightclub. And this is where you get the card game, because yeah, Mr. Nobody's there, and Kane show up, and yeah, we get that card scene. In my opinion, that whole scene was fucking awesome. Because, yeah, you got 2 men who want to kill John who wants to kill Killa. It's just such a good all-around scene. Just a good back and forth dialogue. Like, how, like, they were able to make a scene like that work in a John Wick movie, you know? A fucking card game. You know, where, yeah, it's not a fight scene or anything like that, but they were able to make it work. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. So John, I think Killa ends up winning. But then yeah, we get a fight starts. Mr. Nobody takes out Killa's men. So does Kane, and John chases Killa through the club. Kind of brought me back to that first movie a little bit, where they're in the club in that and he's chasing the guy through. But this time, yeah, the guy's fighting because yeah, it's Scott Adkins, so it makes sense why he's fighting he's like a bigger dude too, so he's like throwing John around. And yeah, they this is what I mean. And yeah, at this point you gotta think about it. John's been hurt for a while. But like I mentioned, it makes sense like why John can take a beating and all this, because he's in a suit that can kind of take a lot of damage. So yeah, he gets thrown down this water thing. Ends up nearly kills John, but John ends up killing him. And just killing a couple dudes. I love when he just uses axes and just like blades and shit. So yeah, John ends up killing some of his men. Gets Killa's tooth, gives it to to Killa, and yeah, he gets his crest. While this happens, Marquise makes a deal with Mr. Nobody and kind of ups the the deal to 23 million and a pension. And that's another scene where it shows Marquise is a bad guy. He like just randomly grabs Mr. Nobody's hand and stabs him in the hand. It's just like, bro. And then he forces Marquise to kind of like slice his way through his hand. It is like, dude, it is like, that is how you do a bad guy. And it's not every bad guy always does need to throw hands. So sometimes it's nice to have a villain who's a bit more, on the he's a good foil to John. And the Harbinger, says a few words to because he even feels like, he's realizing, you're going a bit over your head, bro. Because he feels like the Harbinger knows he's going over his head. So like you get like some nice dialogue between those two also. So so he ends up burning the crest. John ends up making the challenge. Winston goes to Marquise to make the challenge, and Marquise finally accepts it. But he basically has Kane fight in his place. Then the duel. The rules are set. It's going to be at sunrise, and it's going to be kind of like old school, just like guns at each other. 30 paces, all these rules. And then John threatens to kill. And basically the rules is if John wins, he gets his freedom. And Winston, gets the Continental back, and he's basically reinstated. If Kane wins / or I guess technically, Kane wins, then he gets his freedom with his daughter, and then John dies. So Kane ends up making a side deal with one of his people. Basically, he places a $6 million contract, and this is where you get that really cool scene of like just this lady DJing it, like almost doing commentary on it while it's going on, and like the music that plays is perfect. The different I love like when the different like set pieces. So before this, the Bower King shows up, gives John a new suit and some new weapons, and John has to make it to the fight set. I think it's at sunrise at 6:03, and she goes through the different. This is where you get that cool action sequence. And John, dude, the whole fucking sequence is just amazing. This is where you get the Dragon Express shotguns, which my god, or the rounds were that whole scene. That overhead shot was so good, and Mr. Nobody shows up and. He initially doesn't get involved, but when I like how he kind of talks shit to Marquise because he knows Marquise's guys are just gonna get wrecked. Because actually, he ends up helping John, and then he forces Marquise to up the bounty to 40 million. And this is where he gets involved, and this is where we kind of get after taking some of the different gangs out. He fights Mr. Nobody, pretty much even fight. He ends up Mr. Nobody stops hunting John when one of Chidi, who's the leader of one of Marquise's men, is about to kill his dog. John ends up saving his dog. John ends up making his way to the steps, but John nearly makes it there when he gets kicked down. And yeah, man, it looks John takes a beating. And yeah, this is where Kane comes and helps him. And yeah, this is where we get like the two of them just taking fighting their way up to the stairs. This is like probably another section of the movie. But yeah, going back to that just really quick. That overhead shot was so awesome. And they did it like twice, and it's seamless. It doesn't feel like jarring or anything. Like they actually make that so seamless. Just the choreography from everybody, even from like the people that are just you could arguably say are just kind of fodder for John to kill. Like they put the work in. Like everybody put their work in, especially in terms of the choreography. It is really well done. It is just well done. And so yeah, John and Kane end up taking out everybody. Cheaty ends up getting killed by Mr. Nobody and his dog because Mr. So that he gets a kind of a pretty violent death. So they end up making it the duelist set. Initially, yeah, they dueling pistols. Initially, um, they miss each other, but then yeah, they end up hitting each other. Seemingly, Kane beats John because John doesn't get back up. Marquise goes to talk trash and about to kill John with a pistol, and then John kills him with the pistol, and actually the two work together to execute ends up killing with Marquise and after the two Harbinger deems this acceptable and John gets his freedom. Kane and his daughter get their freedom, and um, Winston gets the New York Continental back, and then John just kind of walks to the steps, and it reflects on his marriage, and he collapses, and they make you think they make you think he died, because there's even like a supposed funeral scene. You see John's grave and Winston, and you could tell Winston, even the way, like, I almost feel like the way they look at him, they know he's not dead. They know he's just in hiding, faking his death. And they bid him farewell, but you could tell that he's not actually dead. Yeah, but I really think it's a great ending. And honestly, if this was like the last movie, this could work. Like that ending could work if you really wanted to be like that at the end. I really wouldn't have minded if that's how they ended it, but I know they're doing another one, but it's fine. I know he's not dead. I look at it as he faked his death. But then the post credit scene, Kane wants to reunite with his daughter, but Akira comes to confront him, and then it kind of cuts. So it sets up a 5. But man, this movie is fucking awesome, dude. Everything about it, the cast, the characters, the action, it has everything. And I even think there's some bits of humor in it where it's perfectly timed, and just I love the banter between Winston and John. I just love like the all around just everything in this movie. Mr. Nobody is a perfect, he's one of those new characters that feels like he's just been here forever. Donnie Yen, he's probably the VIP of the movie for me. Just I love him in this. He's so good. This is everything I ever wanted. Like rarely does a movie just deliver and then some like that. And I think this one really does. So that's all I can really say. It's everything I really needed it to be. The cinematography is beautiful. Even just scenes where people are just talking, it just looks beautiful. Like everybody put their work in, like physically and just in the movie. So definitely say go see this. You'll love it. The time is not a factor at all. You don't feel like you're just bored or anything. It's just high octane from the beginning, balls to the wall action. That's all it really is, and that's all it needs to be. And I think the next one is something's going to happen, that he's going to be brought out of retirement. They're going to make you think he's dead, and you're going to learn that he's actually not dead. He's just in hiding. So I think that's what they're going to do. So I'm definitely hyped for the next one, and I like I said, I think that should be it. I think 5 movies works as a solid franchise. So, but yeah, 9.9 out of 10. I'm definitely gonna watch this again tomorrow. So I have a feeling I am gonna be seeing this movie a lot. I think I'm definitely gonna be going back and watching this one a lot, especially when it gets to home video or on streaming. Cause dude, this movie goes, man. It really it takes it back to that simplicity of the first one and just and like the way, like I said, the biggest positive besides like the action, the real way they just introduce these new characters and make it seem like they've just been here forever. I really think, and Mark Bill Skarsgård really killed it as Marquise. We haven't seen a legitimate, like, I feel like this franchise has kind of needed a villain, like a real villain, like the High Table's like the villain in the background, but like an actual villain with a face, and to finally have that, and I think he really kills it as it. His introduction, the way he plays it, he plays it so well. You just like you can't wait for him to die, but he plays it so well, and he has an actual character and just everything. So between him and Kane, I would say are probably the VIPs of the movie for me. So, but yeah, guys, just kind of I had to do a video on this. I wanted to do it yesterday, but I just couldn't get to it, so I'm doing it tonight. But tomorrow, like I said, ran on Mantles. And yeah, we'll go from there. But this movie is fucking awesome. That's really all I could say. So go see it. As usual, I'm gonna cheers out and talk to y'all tomorrow. But yeah, guys, fuck Joe Biden. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.